Pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to share with God's people here at Atonement the work that you have blessed us to do in Zambia. We thank you for the opportunity to share the word over there and to be encouraged, as well as encourage our brothers and sisters in Central Africa. We thank you for all the support that we were able to give them, and also ask that you just continue to strengthen our relationship with them and to help that your word spread throughout the world, throughout the entirety of the continent of Africa, and also throughout our own country. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so my name is Jamelle Hargraves. This is my wife, Joanna Hargraves. We were married here. This is like a homecoming for us. We were married here. I was confirmed as a Lutheran. Took big classes with Pastor Hargraves about 100 years ago, and so so it really feels like a homecoming, and so we are really thankful to be here with you today and to share with you what God is doing in Zambia, what He blessed us to be able to share into, and what you guys help to support. So now the purpose of the trip was really to be a blessing and to be blessed by our brothers in the LCCA, the Lutheran Church of Central Africa. We were building relationships with them. We were serving in training. Primarily, my wife, she is a teacher, and so she was helping with the training of some of the teachers over there. They don't really get the opportunity to do teacher training or PD days typically, so we were happy to be able to lead that. I worked with some of the pastors over there as well. So the activities of the trip, we visited the 2 LCCA schools. We led a joint teacher conference. We funded a lot of the supplies and things that they needed for that. We worshiped at Chilinja Square Church, which is Pastor Kangango's church. We also worshiped at Pastor Tonga's church as well. We also visited the LCCA seminary, which is, I believe it was founded by the Wells 49ers. So we were able to go there and see that as well. So just some quick facts about Zambia. The capital that we were at was Lusaka. Their currency is called kwacha, and they officially speak English. So it was very easy to go there. Pastor Steinberg calls it Starter Africa because all the signs are in English. Everybody speaks English. I mean, they have other languages that they speak, but they're very comfortable with the English language and understanding English.
That would actually be British English for those of you that are scholarly like I am.
Yeah. So
it sounds fantastic. Not like us.
Very sophisticated. So it's a democracy that they have there. It's about 14 million people there in the southern hemisphere. And then they have their rainy and dry seasons. We were there during their winter time, which is their dry season. So it was still about 70s, 80s during the day, but it didn't feel like a 80-degree day here. And the nights were fairly cool, and it was completely dry. We would barely see clouds in the sky. Pastor Steinberg would say every time he saw a cloud, "Oh, we might get some rain." They're like, "No, there's no rain coming." And the challenge with that is that they use rain as a part of their hydroelectric system where they get their electricity from. And so when there's not a lot of rain, they have to ration the electricity. So parts of the day, they don't have any electricity. And so randomly, you'll be somewhere out and about, and then the electricity, it goes out in the entire city. And it'll be that way for hours. Now, a lot of places have generators, and so those would kick in, but they had to really ration their energy. And it was controlled by Britain until 1964. Okay, so a little bit about the LCCA. Started from the Wells 49ers, based in Zambia and Malawi. They have over 45,000 baptized members and 200 congregations spread throughout both countries. So the LCCA maintains the Lutheran Seminary for the training of ministers. That's in Lusaka. That's what we were able to visit, which is the capital of Zambia. The Lutheran Bible Institute, which is a pre-seminary pastoral training, that is based in Malawi. And the first congregation was in Matero in 1955. We went to the school.
So we attended the school at Matero and helped the teachers there. We also were able to participate in a chapel service that they brought their kids into the church of Matero, and they sang for us and did all sorts of wonderful things for their chapel service for us. And then I was blessed to help split the kids and lead some teaching of songs with Rebecca Steinberg, while others went back to the school to do chess and things of that nature.
Okay, so just a few pictures from the visit. This is, which school? This is Kunda Square. Yeah, Kunda Square. And so their classrooms, they don't have electricity, like I said, most of the time. So it's just the daylight that they use. They use chalkboards. That class right there is, I believe, the first grade class. The lady that you see, she teaches, but she's also the principal. The headmaster, her name is Esnat. And then the other school in Matero was Kunuka Square School. It's similar. You see that the teachers, some of them still wear like the white, I don't know what you call those, coat type things. But the students are very, very studious. They're very well behaved. They listen very well. Their penmanship is excellent. They really work on that. But they don't have a lot of materials. You know, the teachers don't have a lot of chalk. The kids don't have a lot of pencils. They were saying that they don't really like using pencil sharpeners.
So I know there's some of you in here that have an education background, so let's take that a little deeper, right? Okay, so they do a lot of call and response, and then they do a lot of just copy. They copy lines off of the chalkboard, just like you probably did back in, we won't say when, right? And we all know that that is good practice, but it is only rote memorization. Therefore, when these students go through, schools are very different in Africa than they are here. When you enter school, you could be a lot of different ages. And the two schools that we served at are actually vulnerable children's schools. So these schools are serving kids that come from maybe the streets. These schools are serving kids that might live with somebody, but that's not their parents. It's a guardianship situation. And so they're coming into school where we have babies at 3, 4, 5 years old. Their youngest ones are about 5, 6, and 7 years old. And they go into grade 1 no matter what age they are. So at Kuunda Square, there is a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old in grade 1 because they were blessed to go to school. And they are excited to be in grade 1 at 12 and 15 years old. And then they go through grade 7. It's a mastery scale. So if you don't master the skills of grade 1, you don't go to grade 2. If you don't master the skills of grade 4, you don't go to grade 5. And then once you complete grade 7, you have to do state testing in order to go to secondary school. And their secondary schools are all public. They have this many Lutheran or Christian secondary schools. So they're losing their teenagers. They're losing a lot, which sounds great because they're a Christian country and they take care of them, right? But they're a Christian country with just as many Christian religions as the U.S. has. So we all know that a lot of that is not preaching the gospel, okay?
So just some more pictures from both visits. They loved my wife, the teacher. She was
They
always
loved my hair, let's be real.
She was always with the kids. They're very joyful kids, very happy to see new people. When we would go into their classrooms, the teacher would have them stand up and they would like sing a song to us, just saying welcome. And then we would go. It was always really difficult for us to leave for the day because they were so excited and so sad to see us go. But for kids who perhaps, like Joanna said, some may live on the street. Some may not have any parents. Some may only eat once a day, and that's only at the school. But you would know it from the joy that they have at school and the way that they sing gospel songs during the day.
Just a quick question. Is Zambia currently under, or are they experiencing war or conflict or anything like that?
No, I don't. There was no indication of that in Zambia. I mean, some of the Sudan definitely is, but that's in the northeast. So no, Zambia was fairly stable.
So the kids that are ending up on the streets are, I mean, it's a problem.
It's a power thing. It's an AIDS thing.
Yep.
AIDS.
HIV.
1 in 20 people in Zambia has AIDS. And for
The
them,
students of one of the schools sang us a song
yeah,
about AIDS so that we would understand what it feels like to them.
yeah, to get the message out because, and for them, they don't have the medications, right? So it's fatal. So, you have a lot of parents who aren't there, and you have kids on the streets. We would go around, and we would go to a restaurant, and there will always be these kids going around and asking for food or whatever, and they would take whatever you had. You had, if you're eating like some fries, and they would just take whatever was left. So yeah, it's a tough situation, but again, you wouldn't tell from their joy that they have. So this is the teachers' conference. Pastor Steinberg started us off there. And do you want to talk about what you went over?
Sure. So they have, the LCCA has 2 schools that are by bus only 20 minutes apart. So you think of our conferences and we have how many schools in one district and then we have to split out even one district, right? They only have these 2 schools and their teachers see each other and in person once every 2 years when Pastor Steinberg and his wife come to do this. Because they don't have cars, they are overworked, so they just don't have time. And then they are communicating through WhatsApp quite often, but I think we can all agree that you can only get so much communication by calling or texting someone. So that's all the communication that they have until they come to this PD day. So we have grades 1 through grade 7, all of the teachers from both schools. We also had 4 of the LCCA board members, which was 2 pastors and 2 board members that came with them. And so A lot of what we did was let them teach us, right? That's the best way to learn, is to see what people know and just learn from each other. And so we did a lot of time where they were bringing questions to us, we were answering, but then they were bringing questions back and forth to each other. We were privileged to bring along with us another family from the Appleton area, which included Tim Payne, who is a principal, and so they would call him the headmaster. And so he did part of the PD day, and then I did the other part. The part that I did with the support of Jamelle sitting there just cheering me on was I really did a direct focus on how do you bring biblical reference into every single subject, whether that is math, social studies, science, whatever you are teaching. How are you connecting it directly to a Bible history lesson? Because that is history. And the knowledge that comes out of these teachers, I mean, it would be like having our teachers together and everybody having something to say. It would take so much time. And we didn't have all the time we wanted, but it was a blessing to be able to do it for that one day.
And so then we went to the churches. So this is Pastor Kongango's church in Challenge. So this is by far probably the,
This would be the wealthy church.
the wealthy church. You know, they have some challenges and some things that they need, but they have a roof, and they have all their windows. And so, you know, and they have electricity most of the time. There was a time where we had an evening vespers, and the power went out, and it was completely dark in the church. And so a couple of people brought their cell phones up so that pastor could read his sermon notes, and we just kept going until the generators came back on.
You see the whole church council leave to go fix the generator.
Yeah.
While everybody else continues worship, they don't skip a beat.
They don't skip a beat. So that was very interesting. And so that's kind of what it looks like on the outside. That's Pastor Kongango there. I was blessed to be able to preach a sermon there. It was a new challenge because it was being translated. Now, they do speak English, but you know, sometimes things are better understood in their
Native.
tribal language. And so Pastor Kongango was standing right next to me, and he was translating while I was preaching, and it was an awesome experience to be there. And the thing also is, after every church service, they really want you to stay so that they can make you some kind of meal. And a lot of times it wasn't a lot. They would say, well, we don't really have a lot, but we want you to stay and eat with us. And people didn't run out of the church. They were there for a while, for hours after church. And so this is Pastor Tonga's church. And you can see a little bit of a difference there. They still have a dirt floor. They are working on hopefully getting the funding to put in a floor. They're building the church brick by brick. They're building it themselves. And so when they can afford to get a decent amount of bricks, they get enough money together, then they add on to the church. But the roof is not, you can see the top there, the roof is open. They have windows, but they don't have enough to put them into the spots. So some of those are just open. They don't have a bathroom, a working one at the time there.
They do have a pit toilet out back if you need it.
Yeah. But again, you know, you would not know that they had those challenges by the way that they praised God and by the way they treated us and their joy and their acceptance and just their kindness. You just wouldn't know.
So when we do a building project, we all know about it as a congregation, right? And it goes through the board and it goes through our council, and then it takes how many years to get it approved? You know, maybe not even a year to get it approved, but then takes, 4 or 5 years to get it executed, and then you pay it off for a while afterwards. They don't have options like that. So this church has been being worked on for 11 years now. The other churches are going on 15 and 20 years, and none of their churches are complete. Just not even complete.
Yeah, and the services are very similar to how we would do it here. There's a liturgy, and a lot of the hymns, you may not understand the language, but you would recognize the melody very easily. And it's some of the most beautiful singing that I've ever heard. Just to hear hymns in a new way, it was just a blessing.
There's no service without a choir, so I was in heaven. Well, not literally yet, but I loved it. There is 0 services without 4-part harmony because the choir leads and everybody in the church can sing a part. They're taught to do that from very little on, and so that, for both of us, was just the highlight.
Yeah. So that is the chapel and the seminary. That was a blessing to see that. There weren't many students there. I think they said there was only like maybe 2.
There are 3 vicars that are finishing their last year of vicarship that are graduating out of 6 that had started, and they currently have nobody coming in. And do you want to talk about why?
Well, I mean, because they can't afford to pay their pastors, and teachers are some of the highest paid people in the country, and they make about $200 a month. And so the pastor, like Pastor Tonga, his congregation can't afford to really pay for him, his salary, so he's a farmer on top of that, of being a pastor. And it was a different experience seeing that when they had their offering, some people brought up chickens, 2 live chickens. And, it's what you can give. He was also our bus driver, so those chickens were with us the rest of the day.
That's an experience you can't get back.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just they do what they can, and so trying to convince. I mean, it's hard for us in America, really, to convince young people to get into the ministry more and more. It's hard over there too, So this is some of the rooms. I forget the gentleman's name. They're in a white shirt.
Caretaker.
He is the president of the seminary? Or is it caretaker or the president of the seminary? He's just showing us some of the room. That's their library. It's very dusty. They haven't been used very much. Like I said, there's not a lot of students there right now, but it was cool to see. And then this is a picture of, I think they said that they recognized the guy there on the right. He's a Wells guy. And I don't know where that's from, but it's from, who is it? Winland, Pastor Winland, yeah. So he must have helped start the seminary over there. Yeah. That's my wife hiding by the door. Okay, so then I mentioned that Pastor Tonga's is a farmer too, and so this is his family's farm that he took us to. I was able to, and I'm glad I didn't add it, get water
Facebook,
from a well.
You can see him get water from the well.
And you do it at one time was fine, but having to do that all the time, I definitely would be in better shape than I am now. But even there, they were curious about us, but they're very kind, and they were showing us around, and you would see strangers, and they would see new people, and they would just love to show you things and talk to you and stuff like that. So it was very cool to see. But when you think of like some huts and things like that. They're there. They're still there.
What all did he farm or raise?
He had cows. He had goats.
So cows, goats, and chickens are the main three. Pigs are a specialty, and they look more like a tame boar. And then corn, just maize, they won't call it corn. And then anything that will grow. So right now with the drought, it's tough. It's tough. They eat a lot of greens, but those of us that eat greens here, we talk about turnip and mustard greens and things like that. They eat pumpkin greens and squash greens, okay? And a lot of times you look around and you would not recognize that you're on a farm. You just feel like you're out in the country, right? They just use their space. They don't plow a space. They use the space that they have. So they don't take out trees to make a big field. They make fields in between their trees. So you'll be driving along the side of the road and you'll see maize all along the side of the road because it's where it grows the best to them. But yeah, and then we ate Shima, which is from maize. They take the whole cob, they shuck it, and then they grind it into flour. And they, so it's the consistency maybe of thick mashed potatoes, and you use it more like a mopping biscuit. You ball it up in your hand and dunk it in whatever you're eating. They do not use silverware. We did. They offered us silverware. But they use the chima to pick up all their food.
Was it good?
I was thinking about when you were talking about they don't go past 7th grade, but some of the ones that go to seminary, they must have to go on first after 7th grade, or no?
The process for seminary is different than ours, but still lengthy. So it is primary school, secondary school, then the 3 years in Malawi, and then 3 years in Zambia.
Yeah, it's a little different, and it seems a little bit longer.
It's actually shorter if you do the math.
It was, the thing about secondary school is that, and the reason why they would really like to be able to have secondary school classes on their property is because the government has certain requirements for kids to go to secondary school that just most kids can't afford. Things that they have to wear or not wear and things like that. Whereas in the LCCA schools, they can wear whatever they have just to come to school. And so that's one of the things that they hope to one day raise enough money in order to start doing some secondary education on their property. And so this is us going towards Victoria Falls after working for the week and a half. We're able to relax a little bit at a place called Maramba Lodge. That's where that beautiful picture comes from. That swamp, they say, is full of alligators, or crocodiles. I forget which ones it is.
It's the river that goes through, so.
And then we went to Victoria Falls, which was beautiful. It was very, very loud, very awesome, just huge. And if you get close enough, you can get completely soaked. My wife was very brave.
I'm terrified of heights, just completely terrified. But I made it to the 4th viewing section, so we got to see quite a bit of it. You could go a little bit farther, and there's a bridge that I didn't even like looking at pictures of online. I definitely did not see it in person. That is just a rope bridge that you can walk across. We did have one of the pastors took the 15-year-old son of the pastor and kind of pushed him out and made him do it. And he said it's the best thing he's ever done. I took his word for it.
And then on the safari, it was 2 parts. There was a water safari, so we were in a boat. and then also on land. We did see hippo. I was told the whole time before I went on this trip that hippo are very, they don't seem dangerous or scary, but they can be very dangerous. And so I was a little nervous getting this close to a hippo, but it was fine. And then we went on the safari on land. We were able to see a giraffe and an elephant that got really close. That was pretty curious about us. That was a blessing. And so just some of the things that they, when I told them I was going to do a presentation for some of the churches, Pastor Steinberg, they gave Pastor Steinberg a list of needs that they would like help with if possible. Some of those things are like the desks. So this, by and large, someone very nice donated basically half the money to get them new desks. I mean, a lot of desks were broken. The seats were broken. One would be on the metal part, and the other part, you can't, may be hard to see, but in the corner you see rocks, and so they used it to level it with rocks. We were able to raise about $1,800 to get that done. So the cost per desk is 880 kwacha. If you divide that by 25, that's about what it costs in dollars.
Our dollar is much more powerful than their kwacha.
Yeah.
So a steak dinner for us while we were over there, we were kind of living large because it was like $20 for both of us to eat a steak dinner.
Yeah.
Total, not a piece.
Yeah.
Total.
They would like whiteboards for the campuses, requested by the principals so they can decrease the chalk dust. $2,000 is estimated total cost. I know Pastor Steinberg is working on that. I'm not sure where he is with that, but that's one of the things that he's working on to help them with.
So they're about halfway there on that one.
Yeah, about half. And then just learning, they call them manipulatives.
Learning manipulatives. This is my area.
Yeah.
So like I said, they do a lot of rote memorization, which is kind of good. They don't even sell manipulatives in Africa. So this is something that they're actually asking, not necessarily to get donations of money, but to get these purchased in the U.S. and shipped to them. And when I let them know, hey, this is something that our government sometimes funds for our schools, so maybe people would have used manipulatives, that's a thing, especially the wooden ones, they last forever. They'll take anything that we have. And yes, the shipping costs are probably high, but compared to not having anything in your school, think about a 4K classroom with 0 toys, 0 dice, 0 shapes, 0 puzzles. They have none of that. So we are truly, truly blessed. And it is a simple thing to coordinate with their pastors. We would not even need to go through the Vulnerable Children's Foundation to get it to them. We can ship it directly to them through our friends.
Pastor Kangago, he has some of those blue chairs in his church. There are some black ones that are a little bit older and not as comfortable, especially for some of the older members. And so he requested perhaps if we can help him get some more of those blue chairs for his church. So the total cost to get as many chairs, I think he needs like 200 some odd chairs, would be about 2,000 American dollars. He's not saying that he wants us to raise all of that by ourselves. That's just how much it would cost to do all of it. But whatever we can do to help them to have just some comfortable chairs for them to sit in during worship. And then also perhaps a desk and a chair for pastor's office. Right now, that's his office, so he has no desk, he has no chair. So when he, if he wants to work on his sermon, he can't really do it in his office. When we were there, Pastor Steinberg raised money to get the pastors generators for their homes and computers so they can do some work at home and have a generator while they're doing that. But while he's at church, he can't really work because he doesn't have a desk or a chair. And that's it.
That's what we're bringing to you, but we would welcome any questions that you have.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions at all?
What's a Wells
I gotcha.
Okay.
I gotcha. So Wells Kingdom Workers back then was not Kingdom Workers. So the 49ers were the ones that were sent to Central Africa by the Wells to start the congregation there. So there are still missionaries in many places in Africa. There's actually a missionary, 3 missionary houses across the street from the LCCA seminary. However, because Zambia and Malawi are considered self-supported, the Wells missions don't actually support them anymore. And so they were kind of just dropped. And so they have the missionaries there, but those missionaries don't stay there. Their homes are there, and they go to other parts of Africa. And that's where our funding currently goes. So our funding is not currently going to the LCCA.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, so obviously they have had a lot of white missionaries from the U.S. So I'm just wondering, how did they react to you as African American? Did they have specific questions about your experience? Did you see any perceived difference of how they treated you versus other missionaries? Things like that.
They do like the Mzungus. That would be the white people.
So, no, it was all love. I mean, whether it was me or my wife, they are excited to see new people, especially Christians from America. They embraced me completely. Even Pastor Kungango made me an honorary member of his tribe.
Jamelle got dubbed pastor's favorite very quickly.
Chakwa, I believe it's called, his tribe. And so, we were completely embraced. It's such a community atmosphere there. I mean, regardless of who you are,
You don't feel the separation.
you feel no separation. If you go there, you see a mom with a baby, and you want to hold, here, take my baby, it's fine. Because the baby is not just for her, it's for everybody. And so, they made me feel like a brother. They made me feel welcome. They said, welcome home. You're in my tribe now. They treated Joanna with just love and respect. I think they liked her more than me, but still. So they were, and was it Mzunga is what it's called?
Mzungu, yes. That's what I said. All right.
Mzungu. That just means, that's not a disrespectful term for a white person. That just means a white person. So you would drive around and...
You would hear them shouting.
Oh, look,
pointing at you.
Mzunga. I was a little jealous because they didn't have a name for me. They're just like, yeah, you're just whatever, but you're not special. It was a blessing.
So they have these various needs, some whiteboards and stuff. How can one support this?
So with some things, small things, to ship it wouldn't be that hard, but for things like a whiteboard, we would want to send them the money and they buy it there.
So that would be where our friendship comes in. Yeah.
So you could write a check or whatever to Pastor Steinberg, A City for God, or us, and I have Pastor Kungango's and Pastor Tonga's Western Union information, and I can get that to them. I already sent them the rest of the money for the desks. I have pictures of the brand new desks. They were, I forgot to put, they were so appreciative of these just flawless new desks that they have now. And they sent me a video of it, and they were saying thank you like every day. They were sending a new video to thank us for that, because the kids have just a good place to work on and to do their work.
Yeah, you can absolutely support the Vulnerable Children's Fund. That is what
That's another way.
technical support for the two schools is. That process is lengthy, and things get allocated slowly. And so the churches attached to the schools have kind of stepped up and started to support their schools in the ways they know how. And so they are asking for their connections to go through the pastors instead of always waiting for the Vulnerable Children's Fund.
Yeah, and the pastors would go, and they're very good about keeping records and everything, so they would go, they would...
More frugal than I've ever seen in America.
They always look for the best deals, so they would take the money, go get the stuff, and send us, okay, here, we got all the... This is what we got with the funds that you sent us. So
They built the desks. He failed to mention that. They purchased the materials and built them within 3 days of getting the funding because they were so excited.
yeah, so yeah. There's no pastors there, Wells pastors there right now, but they have been. Even Pastor Cook he was one of the people who taught Pastor Kungango when he was going through the seminary process. So they know a lot of pastors, Professor Sorum, Pastor Cook, but I don't think there's any there right now. The thing is, you have two pastors who are basically done with their education, and there's not very many younger people who are coming up, so hopefully that changes.
Yeah, the LCCA is supposed to be self-sufficient, and they are just struggling with their environment.
Yeah.
We were there for 14 days. So we went with Paul and Rebecca Steinberg, who have been going every 2 years for the past 11 years. So this was their sixth trip that they have been there.
My husband and I went to Zambia, maybe 40 years ago.
That's right. What?
Visiting the nurses station. At that time, it still was run by our nurses.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of interesting experiences in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was right before the LCCA became self-sufficient. A lot of the ways that America came in was through health benefits and through nursing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard a lot of those stories now.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Not in Zambia. Zambia is very, very stable. It's a democratic country. Their new president is really trying to move away from relying on China for support, because with the Chinese support comes a lot of strings and a lot of things, but they are more looking towards America for help, and so he's taken the country that way. And so there was no safety concerns that we had. You felt very safe. Now, it's not like America where when we go to the mall looks just like any mall here, but you would see like guys with AK-47s walking around the mall and protecting them all. But I felt safer there than any part of Milwaukee most of the time. So, except for the hippos. If anything was going to happen, it was probably a hippo or something with a. And what can you do?
I'm sure it might be a complex answer, but I'm just wondering, are there things that you can pinpoint that might contribute to their poverty? Just, I mean, obviously you have the colonialism, you have the AIDS epidemic, you have, the climate, but are there other things that people can be like, okay, maybe this is causing this?
There's a lot of, Zambia especially has a lot of natural resources, a lot of minerals, a lot of copper, a lot of stuff that goes into making microprocessors. The problem is that a lot of times the countries would come and just take the resources, but then not share in the wealth with the people. And so the people are still in poverty.
Yeah, it's colonialization. So it was Britain, and then it was South Africa, and now it's China.
And now it's China.
Yeah, so that is why they actually, you can go any business, any school, any house, and you will see a picture of their president right now. Because they are so, they just have so much hope that they're going to be able to operate as an independent country finally. So like we've been independent for hundreds of years. They've only been independent for not even 60 years, right?
Yeah.
So it's just that pushing colonialization out and understanding how to get your industries working for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the issue. And, and it was interesting to hear the pastor, Kangango, say, because I asked him, I was like, how do the Chinese treat the Zambians? You would go throughout the country, and you would see Chinese businesses. You would see Zambians working for the Chinese. You would see these big factories, Chinese factories. And I asked him, how's that going? And he said, he said the Chinese are very cruel to Zambians, but they need to hear the gospel too. And so we still reach out with the gospel to them. And it's very important for us to continue to do that. And so, yeah, it's a tough situation, but, he loves them just like anybody else. And he knows that, they need to hear about Jesus too. And this is their opportunity, because when they're not in China, maybe they have an opportunity to hear about Christ that they wouldn't have otherwise. So
It was pretty fantastic to be in a Christian nation. I know that there's freedom of religion in the United States, and I think we can maybe all agree that you don't feel that anymore. You feel it if you practice it, but you don't feel it when you go out on the streets. And you can go down any street in Africa and you will see billboards and bulletin boards that have biblical sayings on them. Businesses are all named after something biblical. And that was actually one of the ways it was pretty easy to pick out the Chinese businesses, because they looked very different compared to the nation around them.
Kind of going along with what you were just saying. So you're saying it's a Christian nation, but is there any sort of syncretism that happens with the traditional tribal religions? I know they had an issue with that when we were doing missionary work with Native Americans.
Yeah.
Does that still happen there?
not with the churches that we visited. Now, they are very well-trained Lutheran pastors, and they know their doctrine very well. But there's Pentecostal there, there's Baptist Christians there.
Catholicism is the largest.
There's Catholicism there.
Seventh-day Adventists.
And one of the growing religions there is Islam.
Yep.
And the
They see it in
reason
their schools a lot.
reason for that is because Islam, they say, not only supports the spirit but the body as well. And so you'll see the Muslim people there taking care of the people with food and things like that, being involved with that. Some of the other churches don't do that, right? And so they feel like, well, you talk about love and all this stuff, but you don't show it. Whereas Islam says, those Christians talk about all this stuff, but what are they doing for you? And so people are so this is a challenge, but it's still dominated by Christianity there. But if they're not diligent, it doesn't, it may not always be. So, okay. Any other questions? All right. Well, again, we thank you, Atonement, for the support. We thank you for the opportunity of sharing with you what we did over there and telling you about our brothers and sisters. They really are our Lutheran brothers and sisters over there. We worship and serve the same Jesus, and they know that, and they feel connected to us over here, and they're praying for us here because they know that we have a lot of challenges too. Money may not be our issue, but it doesn't mean that we don't have challenges, and so they're praying for us as well. And so thanks again for helping us to be able to experience this. Lord willing, the plan is to go again in a couple years. If you're interested in that, you can go and see for yourself. It will bless you. I can guarantee you that. Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah.
No.
Sir?